Hello everyone. So the topic I'm going to discuss today in this presentation is fine motor skills. So the information I'm providing is created for educational purposes only, to provide resources and activities related to this topic. And if you do feel that any of the information being discussed relates to your child and creates concern, please contact your healthcare provider. The topics being discussed in this presentation will include what are fine motor skills, what skills are associated with fine motor skills, how can we improve these skills, how does occupational therapy help, handwriting, activities to support these skills, and resources. First, we'll talk about what are fine motor skills. Fine motor skills are one's ability to control the small movements of the hands and fingers, as well as the small muscles of the face, mouth, and feet. This presentation will be focusing on the hands and fingers. So what do these skills look like? In the academic setting, it could include pencil skills, such as scribbling, coloring, drawing, or writing, and scissor skills, such as cutting. It also incorporates play skills, which could include construction skills such as Legos, Duplos, puzzles, train tracks, doll dressing and manipulation, IT use or computer use, such as using the mouse, a stylus, or a keyboard, and self-care skills, including dressing, which includes tying shoes, dolling up sandals, zippers, buttons, and belts, eating using utensils, being able to open lunch boxes and food bags, and hygiene, cleaning teeth, brushing hair, and toileting. What skills are associated with fine motor skills? So some of these associated skills that we will be addressing are also in the presentation of gross motor skills that I've done previously, because gross motor skills are needed when performing a fine motor task. This is because you need to have the large muscles of the body working, such as your core and shoulder stability, to be able to sit up at the table to perform fine motor tasks such as handwriting, coloring, cutting. So these skills build upon each other. The skills that we will be talking about today include hand and finger strength, hand-eye coordination, visual processing, object manipulation, and bilateral coordination. Hand and finger strength, also known as grip and pinch strength, is the ability to exert force against resistance using the hands and fingers that allow necessary power for controlled movement. This skill is required for holding a pencil correctly, controlling scissors when cutting, manipulating buttons and zippers on clothing, tying shoes, using a paintbrush, turning a doorknob, pushing the water fountain button, and also using utensils. Next is hand-eye coordination. This is the ability to process information received from the eyes to control, guide, and direct the hands in the performance of a task, such as handwriting. It's required for cutting accurately, copying shapes, writing letters, assembling puzzles, and coloring within the lines. Visual processing skills. This is the process we use to make sense of what we see. It is a process in our brain that interprets visual information. If your child has difficulty with visual processing, they may have difficulty when reading or copying from the board because they lose their place or just don't recognize the letters. This also involves visual memory, which is a must. It's especially at a kid's age. They're required to write faster and faster, but functional writing at all ages requires a visual picture in the mind to ensure the formation. So these skills are required for spacing and sizing of letters, recognition of letters, copying shapes or letters, visual tracking and crossing midline, finding objects among other objects, copying from a board or another paper. Object manipulation is the ability to skillfully manipulate tools within one hand without the help of the other hand. This assists children to be successful in positioning their pencil, using scissors, holding a knife or a fork, positioning buttons, zippers, laces, or snaps for dressing, positioning a puzzle piece to know which way the puzzle will go, and lastly, positioning keys to be able to unlock the door. Lastly, we'll be discussing bilateral coordination, which is the ability to use both sides of the body in a coordinated fashion. This can mean using both sides to do the same thing, as in pushing or rolling pin or clapping your hands, or using alternating movements such as walking, doing the same movement but at different timing, or using different movements on each side, such as when cutting with scissors, holding the paper with one hand and cutting with the other. And this skill is essential for writing, effective posture, holding a paper, moving a pencil, erasing, and using margins. Why is it important for children to develop these skills? It is essential for performing everyday skills, like we talked about prior, the academic skills, those scribbling, coloring, drawing, writing, and cutting skills, their play skills, being able to manipulate toys, build different objects, use those computer skills to type on the computer or use a stylus, those self-care skills such as dressing, eating, and hygiene. And it is important that these children use their hand and finger muscles accurately in order to keep up with their peers as well. But what does this look like in children who have difficulty with fine motor skills? If a child has challenges in fine motor skills, they may be avoidant or just have a general disinterest in any fine motor task. They may have difficulty mastering new fine motor skills. They may act bossy in play or asking others to draw a cat for me. They may have an awkward or immature pencil grasp for their age, which we'll talk about in later slides. They may fatigue quickly or have difficulty with manipulation or hand-eye coordination tasks. They may have messy, slow, or laborious drawing, coloring, and writing skills. And they may have difficulty using a scissors. They could cut through the picture. It can look choppy and very jagged or messy. They may have difficulty performing age-appropriate self-care tasks independently and may wait for parents to dress them or clean their teeth rather than trying themselves. And they may give up very easily and ask their parents to fix a problem without physically trying to fix the problem themselves. How can we improve these skills? We can begin by improving the associated skills, including bilateral coordination, practicing using both hands to perform a task, not just one. Enhance their strength by using pegs and clips to improve that hand and finger strength. Encourage participation in activities that involves grasping and manipulating small objects, such as drawing, puzzles, opening containers, and threading. Ensure a child is able to stabilize their trunk to allow refined movement of the arms, hands, and fingers. And this may involve reviewing how they're sitting in the chair or at a table and what they look like. Give lots and lots of praise and encouragement when your child engages in these activities, especially if they persist when finding an activity difficult. So focus on the participation rather than the degree of skill. How does occupational therapy help? Occupational therapy is designed to enhance the student's ability to fully access and be successful in the learning environment. They address handwriting or fine motor skills so the child can complete written assignments. They help the child organize self in the environment, including their workspace and around their desk. They work with the teacher to modify the classroom and/or adapt the learning environment to facilitate successful participation. They work on holding and controlling a pencil to write and copy notes. And they also address handwriting specifically. They look at how the child writes their shapes, their loops, curves, and hard corners. What is the slant degree in which you write your letters? Does the alignment have an upward angle or a downward angle? Or is there any overlapping words or letters? They also look at the spacing, sizing, and line quality. So is it hard to read, or does the child have heavy pressure on the paper when writing? So they look at all aspects of handwriting to help improve their skills. What is occupational therapy in the school system? Occupational therapy is a related service under Part B of the Individuals with Disability Education Act and is provided to help a student with a disability to benefit from special education. If your child has a disability as defined by IDEA and needs special education and related services to meet their unique learning needs, then he or she might be eligible for occupational therapy services. Your child must be eligible for special education before considering OT services under IDEA. Eligibility for special education does not mean they'll automatically be eligible for the related services such as OT. That is determined by the multidisciplinary team, also known as the IEP team, which a parent is a part of. So if you have a concern, you are able to open that discussion during that meeting and say you are considering OT services, and then have a conversation to determine if that is best for your child. Next, we'll talk a little bit about handwriting. So I wanted to identify the handwriting milestones in children. So at 10 to 15 months, they're beginning to start scribbling on a paper. So to promote the skill with your children, offer crayons and papers frequently to your child for consistent exposure to handwriting tools. At 2 years, they're able to initiate a horizontal, vertical, circular, or curved line. So this stage is building muscle strength in the hands and fingers, and you can promote this by giving a toddler spray bottle with water, and they're using that grip and squeezing the bottle, and then that builds those muscles necessary for writing. At 3 years, they can copy different types of lines, straight and curved, on a paper. So continue to provide opportunities for writing and coloring, but with many different options to spark creativity and interest. So letting them use chalk, markers, dry erase board markers, crayons, colored pencils, and any other options. So just giving them the opportunity to try different things. At 4 to 5 years old, they can copy a cross, a right directional angle, a left directional line, and a diagonal line. Some letters and numbers, and they can begin to copy their own name. So you can promote this by using tracing sheets with numbers and letters, create different shaped objects, and then ask your child to draw the same shape, and continue to build that hand and finger strength by playing and building with Play-Doh. Handwriting is a very complex skill that develops over time. To learn handwriting, children need to combine fine motor skills, language, memory, and concentration. They also need to be able to practice and follow instructions. They need to know their letters of the alphabet, be able to control the paper and stay within the lines, the letter formation. They need to have an understanding of left and right and top and bottom progression. And they need to be able to track movement of the hand, pencil, and paper. So on the right, there's a picture, and that provides how a child holds a pencil over the stages. So at 1 to 1.5, they use a cylindrical grasp. So this is where they just grab the pencil and have their thumb pointed up and just start scribbling that way. Next, they move to a digital grasp, is where they'll grab more of the top of the pencil and still start to scribble, but starting to change that sequence so it's not in their full grasp. Then they go up to a modified tripod grasp, which is between 3.5 to 4 years old. So this is where they start getting closer to the bottom of the pencil and start holding the pencil with more control. And then lastly, this is optimal, is where we would like them, is the tripod grasp, which is 4.5 to 7 years old, and that's using the thumb, pointer finger, and middle finger to hold that and stabilize that pencil and be able to write their letters legibly. Lastly, I want to talk about the activities that support fine motor skills. There are many activities out there that can help support fine motor skills in your children, but these are just a few that I thought would be important and easy to try. So first, allow your child to assist you with meal preparation, like stirring, mixing, and pouring in ingredients. Teach your child how to pour their drinks on their own. You can put together a puzzle as a family or play board games or manipulation games such as Connect 4, Jenga, or Mr. Potato Head. Have your child roll and flatten clay with their hands, and then they can use a cookie cutter to make cutouts. You can also have them build their own Play-Doh or Silly Putty. You can place objects in a container and have your child remove them with the tweezers. You can use simple cutting activities and then progress to more complex pictures. You can use connecting or separating construction toys such as Mega Blocks, magnetic blocks, pop beads, and Legos. Have them lace or string beads. Provide coloring and tracing sheets. You can also have them finger paint or show them how to use a hole puncher or stapler. So all of those are supporting fine motor skills. Next, I wanted to provide some activities that address handwriting specifically. So doing drawing mazes, have them go through the maze but try not to touch any of the lines on the side. Write in shaving cream or use a mess-free sensory bag to write their ABCs, their name. Use decode secret messages, having a number relate to a letter to decode a message. Using dot to dots or having tracing and coloring sheets, or just overall any printable worksheets they can use. So the first source that I have on the bottom here, that is good for older students. And then the second one gives more activities for all the topics that we talked about today and more. That is all I have today. If anyone has any questions, please email me or post on this presentation. Thank you all.